History flows like a river. Tell us what happened today in history.
Today, 92 years ago, on May 20, 1927, humans flew across the Atlantic for the first time alone. On May 20, 1927, American pilot Charles Augustus Lindbergh took off from New York on the St. Louis J-ing. It was the first time that humans flew across the Atlantic alone. Today, 39 years ago, on May 20, 1980, Quebec voted against secession from Canada. On May 20, 1980, a referendum in Quebec strongly opposed the separation of the main French-speaking province from the Federation of Canada. For Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau and Quebec Liberal Party leader Claude Ryan, the vote turned out to be a victory. In their strong opposition to secession, both have made promises to work to amend the Canadian Constitution. Quebec's ruling power failed to win a majority of the votes of 80% of Quebec's 6.2 million French-speaking voters. About 54% of French-speaking voters voted against it, with a minority of non-French-speaking voters. Today, 29 years ago, on the 20th of May 1990, Iliescu was elected president of Romania. In December 1989, Romania's political situation was turbulent and President Ceausescu was arrested and executed. The National Salvation Front Commission was announced to take over all regimes. On the 20th of May 1990, general elections were held in Romania. The newly elected president of the country is Iliescu. Born in 1930, he served as the first secretary of the Luo Communist Youth League and the secretary of the Central Committee of the Luo Communist Party. In 1979, he was dismissed from the party. He was elected chairman of the National Salvation Front Committee in December 1989. On the 20th of May 2002, the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste was formally established. At 0000 local time on the 20th of May 2002, the United Nations management of East Timor for 2.5 years formally ended. As the United Nations flag slowly dropped and the national flag of East Timor slowly rose, the first new nation of this century, the Democratic Republic of East Timor, was formally born. In 1642, Portuguese colonists invaded Timor. At the same time, Dutch colonists also occupied the islands around Timor. In 1859, Portugal and the Netherlands reached a treaty to divide up the island of Timor. The eastern part of the island was under Portuguese rule and the western part was under Dutch rule. In 1975, Portuguese colonists withdrew from East Timor. In December of the same year, Indonesian forces occupied East Timor. In 1976, Indonesia unilaterally designated East Timor as its 27th province. During Indonesian rule, about 200,000 East Timorese died of military repression and famine in Indonesia. In 1978, Australia recognized Indonesia's rule over East Timor and became the first and only country in the world to recognize Indonesia's rule over East Timor. Most of the international community, including the United Nations, do not recognize Indonesia's rule over East Timor. In 1998, the Asian financial crisis forced former Indonesian President Suharto to step down, which was trapped in internal and external difficulties. In January 1999, the new President Habibie abruptly changed his policy towards East Timor, declaring that East Timor could be allowed to become independent if it was unwilling to accept self-government. Habibie's move triggered a new round of bloodshed in Indonesia. On the 30th of August 1999, under the supervision of the United Nations, a referendum was held in East Timor, in which 450,000 East Timorese voted, 78.5% of whom opposed East Timor as an autonomous province of Indonesia and believed that Indonesia's 23-year military rule should be ended. As a result of the conflict triggered by the referendum, the United Nations peacekeeping force was stationed in East Timor in October of that year. On the 14th of April 2002, Gusman was elected the first president of East Timor. On the 20th of May 2002, East Timor became an independent nation.